chill stream, my man. That's all. Just a chill stream. Easy as she goes. Hello there, Mr. McBatman. Hello, Tox. Hello. How are you guys doing? What's shaking? I have the day off, so I'm doing an early stream. I don't know what time it is where you guys are, but it's nice to do streams at this time because I have a lot of international fans and they don't get to see me, when I do these late night streams where I am. So this is a chance for us to say hi and chat. Doing good, missed you so much. Oh, you're so sweet. You're such a sweetie. How's school? What's going on? Are you doing any artwork? Any new artwork? What's going on? Are you Tox, have you ever thought about doing some comics, like storytelling? You got some really, really good anime style art. You got your own kind of touch. Looks really good. So I feel like you should think about doing some actual comics. That would be very good. It's almost 11 at night over there. Okay. Caravaggio, hello. I love your name, Caravaggio. I'm busy with exams. Yeah, it's exam time for you. Hey there, Baldwin. Great to have you. I've been trying to draw every day. Very good, McBatman. It's like anything, if you do a lot of it, then you get good. But I will tell you something. I had a martial arts teacher, my first martial arts teacher. He had a saying. He would say that, in English, we say practice makes perfect. But he says that's not true. He says if you're practicing the wrong way, then you're making bad habits. You're doing something incorrectly. And then it's going to take time to learn how to do it right. So perfect practice makes perfect. Think about that. Be very careful about what you're learning, what you're doing. One thing I noticed, because I was an art teacher for a long time, and I still do teach a little bit. And I noticed that some students, they get really comfortable because they think, oh, I'm good. All my friends say I'm good. And so I don't have to change. And that's not the right attitude. You want to, we all need improvement. I mean, I'll be honest, I'm not 100% happy with my art. I can see where I need to improve. Um, and so I'm careful in those areas, and if I need help, I'll look up some resources and say, okay, well, how do you draw that? What is the secret here? What's the technique? And then once you get those skills, you add that to what you're doing, and bingo, you grow as an artist. So that's a good thing. Let's read some comments here. Your hand is okay. Oh yeah, gosh. Yeah, I remember when I injured my hand. I actually injured my foot not long ago, but that's getting better now too. I went dancing last weekend and feeling good again. But for a little while, I couldn't go dancing, and it kind of screwed up my kung fu and stuff. I'm okay now, so that's cool. I know. I'm getting enough rest, thank you. You're like my nurse, my personal nurse. Are you eating enough? Actually, I haven't. I'm fasting right now. I'm not eating today. So I have had like 2 cups of coffee though. So I don't know if that counts, but coffee is my food today. I'm just doing this thing. What is it called? Impulse surfing. Did you ever hear of impulse surfing? So when you have the impulse to do something that you want to, let's say if I have the impulse to eat and I'm fasting, that's not good. I have to, so I'll tell myself, I'll just wait a little longer. I'll just wait a little longer. Just a few more minutes. Just wait a little longer. Just wait a little more. Just wait. And when you do that, you're training your brain to know how to stop your impulses. So it's a good thing that you can use in different parts of life. I'm going to be downloading like a calorie counter app so I can start taking more control of that. I've got a couple friends that have suggested good apps for that. What else? What else? Let's talk here. We got Mr. McBatman says, any possibility you could share some art tips this stream? I've been struggling with a few things. Tell me what you're struggling with, and I'll give you a quick little art lesson, but you have to be more specific. Oh, hey, I have to tell you a lot. Okay, Tox, tell me a lot. Get me updated on your life. What's going on? Um, get me in the loop as I do some artwork. Oh boy. Yeah, I'm busy. Real busy. I had a little family reunion thing recently, which is very nice. I've had some problems with my family and moving past that, getting into the forgiveness zone or loving kindness is good. Now I'm in the senior captain in my school. Wow, you're the senior captain. Holy cow, that sounds like a lot of responsibility. What do you have to do? What are you in charge of leading people in something? Is it like a club or some academic thing? Give me some more details. What else? Okay. Talk says now. I'd read that. Yes. Oh, okay. Wow. Well, you got good energy, so you're probably a good leader. And you know what you can do? You can say if you guys, the best person who follows instructions, I will give that person a free artwork of my own. And that will motivate them. They'll be like, oh, wow, I want a drawing. I want one of her drawings. And I'll tell you when years ago when I used to be, that's good. You stay active. Very, very good. Very good. When I started teaching before I became a full-time teacher, I was a substitute teacher. And when you're a substitute teacher, which is a terrible job, by the way, it was awful. But you go in there and all the kids think like, oh, this is substitute. We're gonna screw this guy. He doesn't know the routines, and we don't respect him, and we're gonna give him a hard time. And it's not a fun environment to walk into. So I would start off and say and show everybody my art portfolio. And then immediately they'd be like, wow, this guy's kind of cool. He's not one of these like whatever teachers. And then I would say, tell you what, at the end of class, whoever is the best behaved, I will draw a caricature, cartoon portrait of you. And then everybody was like, wow, that's awesome. I want one. I want one. So they would, you know, it was a way to trick them into just being cool for an hour and not, you know, I didn't have to like send anybody to the principal's office or anything. So that was fun. And then in the last like 5-10 minutes, I would pull out the drawing pad. Everyone would kind of gather around, and we would just do a funny caricature. So that was a really cool thing that worked out really well for me. In those times. So like if you offer to give some of your artwork to the best person in your team or whatever, it just motivates people. And it kind of gives you a bit of status with them as well. So I would, give you that advice. You can Steal my technique. All right, let's read the chat. I improved my art too. Excellent. Very good to hear. Colin Bruder's here. Greetings across the pond. Usual time. Yeah, this is an unusual time. I am off today, so I thought I would do a little afternoon stream. I have a lot of artwork to get done. Lots of pages. I'll show you some penciled pages. I'll show you some previous pages. Just hang tight a second and kind of see how the story's coming. I think that's a pretty cool image right there. There's a clone of one of the main characters, and he knocks out the main character there, and he's got this kind of reptilian overlord, and you got these evil bad guys that are all plotting their next move under the reptilians. Pretty fun stuff. It's just got that good old comics energy. Introducing a new character, the Chud. I don't know what you know about like the internet culture that we're joking around about here, but like we got Clown World, we got Chud, Demon Rat. Demon Rat is a spoof on Democrat, and I forget the name of this character. They're like popular memes, and there's your basic normie NPC. Look at that. So he's like a video game guy. He's got his he's playing some video games and his anime MAGA hat girl. And then there's this kind of new character that comes out of his computer screen. Again, I didn't write the story. This is the writer's wacky world. And so there's just all kinds of interesting things happening in this wacky world. McBatman said, could you teach how to draw the pelvis area of the figure from different angles, like how the legs connect to it? Yes. Hello to Omer Glitch. Omer Glitch, that's a really interesting name. Mr. McBatman, I will do a little art lesson for you in just a moment. I just want to walk through the rest of these new pages, and then I'll get out a fresh sheet of paper for you, and then you do a little art lesson, a little free art lesson here. So let's back up. Now this scene here, it takes place in Seattle, Washington, in the northwest of America, and there's a famous thing there called, I think it's called the Sky Needle. So, and then I think it's Mount Rainier. I think that's how it's pronounced. And so our character is off and running with his adventure. The bad guys start to realize that one of the good guys has infiltrated them, and so they capture him, and he's got some trouble coming down the line. Meanwhile, we've got a damsel in distress situation going on, and they've got an introduction of a new villain called the Cuckoo, who's absolutely cuckoo, and there's this monster creature that he is going to feed her to if he doesn't get what he wants. So that's a classic kind of comic book tropes. You know what I'm saying? I don't know if you guys saw this before, but this is some other artwork. This robot appears earlier in the story. It's like a giant robot, and in this case, we have this woman who is sort of riding inside his chest plate area. Here you have this more of the story going on, and then the introduction of this character called the God Emperor. And you can kind of see the spoof on who that's based off of if you look at his hair. I added the Freemason symbol here to add a layer of meaning and not subtlety, it's definitely not subtle, and add a layer of meaning to this character and the truth behind that thing that is being said. This sounds hilarious, looks like a blast to draw. So, my dude, the story is called The Alliance, and I've hundreds of pages already drawn. I'm wrapping it up. We plan to have this out for Christmas and then get the sales going and marketing. We got a marketing team. There's investors. that are circling the project. They've seen we have CGI animation. I designed 98 characters for this universe. It's insane. It's crazy. So when it does come out, it's gonna go big time. And you guys can be like, "Hey, I knew Donald Kent before he was famous, so shut up." All right. So it'd be like a little badge you can wear. So anyway, let's get down to the art lesson here from my man McBatman. This is special privileges for the Donald Kent fans. And let me get something going here. So I don't know about using pencil because I don't know if you can see it that well. Might be better to work with pen just because I'm just going to work with pen just because I think it'll be easier to see. But normally you definitely don't work with pen and ink for doing this. You have to work in pencil because you have to erase things. Tell you what, why don't I do that? I'm sorry. Let me go back. I'll start with pencil. I can work with a darker pencil. That'll do. Okay. So let's think this through. Okay. Now you've got the human form. Okay, you got the human form. It's just arms and legs and head. Do 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 do. So that's your basic whatchamacallit. So lots of people will start drawing from the head, and that is wrong. Don't do that. You don't start from the head and then draw down. Wrong. You start from here. Okay? So what is that? That is the core of the body, right? So this fulcrum is where everything comes out of, right? And then you might have the person running or jumping or bending or laughing or crying. The body language is going to be really important. So, what's even more important is the hips. The hip area, you know, how do I put it? It's kind of it's the center of gravity. So, in the center of gravity, that will determine, where the legs are being placed, uh, how how the feet are positioned to the ground. Let's say if I were, if we're gonna maybe the guy is leaning a little bit, and then maybe he's punching or something. And so we've got, you can see how you can change things where maybe he's moving towards something, and see how in that case. Let me do this. I'll erase here a little bit. So we need to understand what we're doing. You see what I'm saying? So here now, I'm starting to understand that the hips are really, really the key for the whole body. And then you have to visualize the spine. Now, the head and all these other things, they come off of that. You've got the hips and da 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 da. So let's start getting into this. We're going to kind of expand that area. We understand how important it is. So let's break it down. Now, let's get really, really simple. This shape could be, let's do sort of a 3D version of it. Something like a 3D triangle. You can look at it like that. You see how I'm doing this? It's kind of like, now that's very boxy, right? In reality, it's kind of, you could almost think of it more like a pair of swimming trunks or a pair of underwear or something like that, where you have these three ovals, right? So that's the top of like the waistline of the underwear, and then that's where the legs would come out. So, and in this version here, it's more geometric. But again, this is where the legs are going to come out, and that's where the waist is going to come out. So if you want to draw robots and stuff, that might work better. But so let's simplify this form a little bit. Okay, we're going to take this and we're going to simplify it into a like a tube or a cylinder. Do you see the cylinder? Okay. Well, that's not hard to draw. It's just two ovals next to each other, and then you connect them like there, right? So now we're gonna get a knife, and we're gonna chop off like pieces of that cylinder. We're going to chop that part right off. So let's go in with our eraser and we're going to get rid of that. We just chopped it off and now it doesn't exist anymore. So now I can see how the form looks. Do you see how I did that? Okay. So now we're going to chop off another part of it, but we're doing it at an angle. Do you see how kind of thin that is? When I say thin, I mean like I squished that down. Okay. So let's get rid of the stuff here, right? And then now do you see the simplification of I call it a tube. It's called a cylinder, I guess, into that. You see how one comes from the other? Okay. Let's read a couple comments here because I want to make sure I understand what you guys are thinking. Hello to Jay Berry. Welcome to the show. How to draw better? Well, I don't do this very frequently, but I'm doing you guys a special favor today. Teachy, da da da, look, da da da. Okay, reading. Hence the trunks on the most superheroes. Think original Superman and Batman. That's an excellent way to look at it. That's a very good point. Um, so now, how do you? I mean, if you physically had like a piece of styrofoam or clay and you built the object, then you could hold it in your hand and rotate it. So let's rotate this. Let's try to see this from different angles. Let's do this here, and we'll kind of move it kind of like that. Okay. And then we're going to go like that a little bit. All right. Well, I mean, maybe I don't like that because I want the one end of it to be longer. Hold on. I'll show you what I mean in a second. I only have two hands here. So let's say if this is where the waistline is, we'll make it a little longer. And then I'm going to bring that in. And so again, that's you have to visualize these things. This is where the legs are going to go. Do you kind of see that? So that would be like a person who's laying down. I know that's a little weird to visualize. Let's move this. Let's do this one here. So I'm not sure what approach would be best for you. All I'm really trying to do here is demonstrate how to visualize this shape. Um, why don't I try a different approach? Let's do this. I'll kind of show you how do I draw. All right. So let's draw. Here's another way. So let's go back to this fella, and I'm going to reconstruct him into these sorts of forms. Okay. Now, in your mind, you might already see, what he's doing, whatever that might be. Maybe let's see, he's holding something in his hand here. So he's like holding something or pulling something, whatever. So how does that? We know what he is doing. We can see that in our mind, right? Um, so let's break it down. So if I were to box it out, then I would create a box right here for his torso. Now, honestly, I don't normally do that. I will break it down to the ribs. You see what I'm saying? So let's do the rib cage. It's kind of like this form. Okay. Do you sort of see that? Right? And then what I would do is figure out where's the spine. Okay, and that's where the swim trunks go. Okay. So I'm gonna kind of go like so. And then I know that the hip joint is in here. So the leg is going to be another what do you call it? Cylinder. Do you see that? All right. So now you're thinking in a 3D form. You're thinking as if like this is almost made of glass, right? So if this hip is here, and I'll zoom in, if that hip is there, then the other hip is over here. It's behind this area. Okay. So and that's there. Now I know the origin of the other leg. Does that make sense? You got your knees. You can use ball joints. And then once again, you're going to draw the cylinders that are coming off of it. Now, if you notice, the feet are not on the same plane. That one is a slightly behind the other. Do you see that? You see how that works, right? Because in space, you have, I'm going to show you kind of, you've got, I'm sorry, I got to zoom out. Space is three-dimensional, right? Kind of like this area here, right? So within a 3D space, uh, you've got, let's say you've got your vanishing point, and you're going to have these kind of mini, what do you call them, like squares? I don't know what to call that, like tiles on a floor. And then the person is going to exist inside that box. That's where the figure is, inside of this 3D space. You see what I'm doing? So even before you go to here and here, this is actually the origin of it all. Okay. And that's where you've got, that's where you've got your guy in here. And let's say he's, you're using all those formulas, etc., that I just showed you. Da, da, da. I know it's messy, but I'm kind of hoping that you're following. Is this making sense? Let me kind of get some in response from the chat. Omer Glitch says G.I. Joe toys may help to understand the visualization. Correct, and that's a brilliant idea. Little superhero toys, and those are fantastic models to use for your art. And they have like wooden models for artists that they use. You can get them at art stores and things. But to be honest, if you can get a real simple Superman figure or something like that that doesn't have a lot of clothing and gadgets on it, then you can just see the anatomy. It's excellent. Perspective is implied in the form. Omer Glitch knows his business. He knows what he's talking about. Victorian says, I'm working on something of my own while listening. When it's finished, I'll post pictures on your Telegram. Thank you. Cool, man. I look forward to that. So, the big picture is this kind of 3D landscape, and then you kind of create your visual cubicle, and then within that, then you start building your character. Whew. So the relationship of the hips to the shoulders are really, the important parts of drawing the figure. And that's really, really, really where it all begins. If you don't get that right, then in the end, the anatomy will be wrong. And you'll screw up, and then you got to start over and start over and start over and start over. And it's frustrating. It gets very frustrating, you know. And then now this is a male figure. Now a female figure is going to be different. They have different anatomy. Granted, and then adults and children have totally different anatomy. So this is your beginning point, but then you have to practice individually, babies, toddlers, young adolescents, teenagers, adults, male, female, and see the different things. In the case with women, kind of, sort of do a real rough thingy. What I've got going on here. I'm just lightly sketching this out. Women's legs are longer than their torso. So, granted, this is very rough. I know that. Let's give her a little hair. And so people come in all different shapes and sizes. So this is just a general rule. Okay, it's not like human beings are not robots, right? So, in a general rule, is that if you look at, say, from here where the hips begin, uh, the shoulders to the hips to the groin versus from the groin to the ankles, do you see how one is longer than the other? You see what I'm saying? This is clearly shorter than that distance. So that's the female anatomy. Additionally, look at this. And I wish I had a colored pencil. It would be so cool right now if I had a colored pencil, but I don't. Women's shoulders are more narrow than their hips. Okay? So if I take this down, you see how it's a little bit more narrow than the hips. Okay? If you draw a woman with shoulders that are as broad as her hips, she begins to look more masculine. If you have a woman with really narrow hips and broad shoulders, she's basically pretty ugly. Okay. If you want to draw an ugly woman, draw an ugly woman. Don't, but that is frankly male anatomy. So with men, and I'll try to get it on screen here for you. So in art we call that the hourglass. Okay, that's the hourglass. Like women are the hourglass, and men are what's called the wedge. So the sort of a wedge shape, if you can kind of see that. So let's do. I'm gonna actually get rid of that because I want to draw them right next to each other. Okay, so these are the basic understandings of anatomy. And then earlier, your question was about the hips, right? So then you're gonna go in there and think about that and all blah blah blah. But anyway, let's get back to business here. So with the male figure, the this is heroic. I mean, men don't all look like Superman, right? You've got lots of different kinds: short, fat, tall, skinny, whatever. And so we're gonna kind of go like so. We'll try to make him in somewhat of the same position that she's in here, and kind of lay it out, get it like so. Da, da, dee, dee. Um, there's another interesting aspect about men and women is that men's arms will hang straight down, but notice how women's arms kind of curve in a little bit. Now, women have this amazing ability because their anatomy is different, where they can touch their elbows to each other. If like Tox right now, if she put her elbows, she could make her elbows touch. But if I can't do that, men can't do that generally. I guess if you're really skinny, you probably could, but generally women have this ability to do that and men don't, and it has a lot to do with our anatomy. Okay, so gender is real. And it's, the universe is binary. There's day and night, hot and cold, life and death, male and female, up and down, winter, summer, you know high and low. Everything is binary in the universe. Okay, so anyway, you're starting to see how the two. This is slightly awkward. Like his head should be over there a little bit more. But now let's from the groin to the feet is about yay big, and then from there to the shoulder, still a little longer, but not as drastically so. Not as drastically so. And once again, these are not like carved in stone kind of rules. You're going to have different body types. But anyway, that is a very good rule for you to follow, and then you can make varieties of that. And then once again, children are very different. Like children at when they're very young, male and female don't look much different. They really don't. It's not until they start to reach adolescence that you're going to see like really significant. There are like the hips in a woman are biologically different from male, even in childhood, even in infancy. If the police find a dead body that's decayed, they they can take that in and study it, and they can tell by the hips and etc. It was it a male or female. So like these are just biological realities. Anyway, I don't need to go off too far on that. I think that I've done the most I can do, really. Um, it's important that you start to think in terms of these kind of 3D forms and then draw them from every angle. Some people like to do this more geometric approach and then like soften the edges, go back in and round out the edges of things. It's like if I talk about drawing a head, you can see there's like a ball, and then you can put a kind of what do you call it? Like a wedge on the ball, and then underneath that is going to be a cylinder, which is the neck. You see what I'm saying? Can you sort of see that the head coming out of that? Do you see that? You see what I'm talking about? And then the nose is another, like another kind of a wedge. You know, the ears. I think of the ears as apple wedges, apple slices. You can cut into this. You chop out an apple wedge for where the eyes would, like eye sockets, and then of course the eyes are orbs. The mouth is something like, I think of the mouth as like if you sort of like if you took an orange or something and you like a larger sort of, because it kind of protrudes a little bit. You got lips are kind of difficult to do, blah blah blah. Anyway, so this is just like the geometric approach to thinking about the figure. It's a good general starting point. Hips and waist, women, yes, spine. Mick Batman says, I've been drawing the hips as an oval. So, as an oval. So, that's really, really simplified. If you were to kind of do that, and then the shoulders, and then put your leg, have your legs coming out of it. I don't know. To me, that's a little too simplified, but there is an oval in here. Do you see that oval? Sorry. Do you see that oval there? That is essentially the waistline. Okay. And then, but the problem is you've got this issue of like these two other ovals that converge into a triangle. You see, so that's the waistline, and those are the two right and left hips. So, anyway, I think that was a fairly decent lesson. Um, I hope that was useful. Did you guys appreciate that? McBatman, did that help? Was that a waste of time, or did it actually do any good? I don't know. Who's still watching the stream? Are we all still here? I don't know. All right, time for Mr. Kent to get back to work. OMG. Thank you so much. It's very helpful. Good, good, good. And it's a video, so you can always go back to the video and replay it and watch it again. Hopefully that'll be helpful. Oh man, what time is it? What time is it? Oh, I got a lot of time. Okay. Today is work day for Daddy. Colin says, as a big admirer of Hermes Trismegistus, I really appreciate your technical approach. Wow, what an interesting thing to say. Tell the audience who Hermes Trismegistus is. Thrice blessed. I would love to go into a conversation about hermetics if you're interested in that. Interesting. Wow. Wow, you just like you just hit a tripwire, in my mind, where it's like, ooh, I like to talk about stuff like that. But I'll just say, like, I also feel like kind of bad about how, what's the word I'm looking for? Like, I know a lot of stuff, but I don't practice it, and I have to practice it. And so I do practice a lot of things, but I could do much, much better. I could go much farther and much deeper. So I look at myself like, you still have so far to go, I guess that's everything in life. If it's art or martial arts or whatever your goals are. I suppose that's how it is. What are you going to build? Just so long as you're striving. I mean, that's what's got to be done. Um, okay, Colin says that's basically the guy who came up with the 7 Hermetic principles everybody ought to know. I strongly agree. Um, the Emerald Tablets. Colin, what is your interest in Hermetics? Uh, what do you know about it? Do you practice it? Please divulge your knowledge and experience on this topic. Please share your wisdom with us. I think just to come to find out about Hermeticism, um, that alone is like you've escaped the matrix. Are you familiar with Franz Bardon? Franz Bardon is a Czechoslovakian hermeticist who wrote on the topic. He's got instruction manuals. Um, Interesting character in history. Uh, Part of his methodology for practicing hermetics is that you take cold showers every day, like ice cold shower, and then also you just got a phone call and it interrupted my stream. Can you guys still see the stream? Can you still hear me? Mm, Religious asks me to believe in something abstract. The 7 principles only are a guideline how things work, and they have always proven to be correct. Yes, they're cosmic laws, basically. So, white magic and black magic harness these cosmic laws, and Kabbalah harnesses these laws for evil, whereas other systems use them for good. And so that's something to know. Um, can somebody give me a hello in the chat, because like I just got a phone call and I'm not sure if it cut the stream. Am I still streaming? Yay or nay? I can't see. I don't know if I'm streaming or not. When I got the phone call, what it did, and that's hello. Good. Okay, thank you. What it did is it turned off my screen, so I can't actually see what you guys are seeing right now, but I have a sense of where the art is supposed to go. I can hear you, but no visual. Damn it. Damn it. When my phone is a piece of crap, so I'm gonna have to stop the stream because when this guy called in, he interrupted the feed. So sadly, this is gonna have to be my goodbye to you. I'm sorry. Anyway, just restart the stream. I could. That ought to work. You're right. But here's the problem with that is that I gotta work. And if I'm talking, I'm not working. So just restart the stream. Tell you what, should I restart it? Got a lot of work to do. Tell you what. Hmm, I think we're gonna call it quits, guys. I'm sorry. I apologize, but I didn't even intend on doing a long stream, but this turned out to be a really cool stream with really cool people, interesting topics. So anyway, I will let you go. God bless. We'll see you next time. Uh, to restart. Omer Glitz. All right, you know what? The fans are always right. So tell you what, I will restart for you. Even okay, but I gotta focus on my work. Okay, so it's okay. You don't have to. Well, I'm gonna do it for Omer Glitz because he's new. He's cool. He knows his stuff, and I feel like I need to do a little extra something. So I'm gonna turn off and be back in a few minutes. Okay, gang? I'll see you shortly. No harm done. All right, yeah, have some dinner because I want to talk more about hermetics and all that. So hopefully Colin will come back as well. All right, guys, see you in a little bit.